Let's continue.
David's young men turned their way, and went again, and came and told him all those sayings. And David said unto his men, Gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master. And he railed on them. But the men were very good.
Now, hold on. Let's go back. So you see, after the disrespect, it was battle time. No hesitation. It was battle time. Right? Right. Now, also, again, what's a messenger? A messenger is an angel. Again, where have you heard this story before? Where you get this with Sparta time? But let's continue.
And we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us both by night and day. All the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master, and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial, that a man cannot speak to him. Then Abigail made haste, and...
Did you catch it? They were a wall unto us both night and day. We're talking dragons on the wall. And all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. And you already know that sheep is a type of man.
Took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him. And he hath requited me evil for good. So, and more also do God unto the enemies of David, if I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. And when Abigail saw David, she hasted, and lighted off the ass, and fell before David on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my lord, upon me let this iniquity be, and let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not, my lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my lord, whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand, now let thine enemies, and they that seek evil to my lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing.
Now, excuse me, Shalaki. Understand something here. You know, we're talking about following the Picto Paleo. You know, this is a woman who is maintaining her tent. No different than the shaper maintains the tent for the framer. We're talking about Amma. And because inside the tent is her domain. She's taking the blame and responsibility. It's very similar to the story of Adam and Eve, although how it is, the narrative has been spun about Eve. This gives that story a different context with the content.
Which thine handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my Lord. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee, and to seek thy soul. But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God, and the souls of thine enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he hath spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord hath avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in very deed, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. And
No. Stop. Because often you've heard in this fourth wave talking about that tarde ma. How you've been put to sleep. Understand something here. His heart died within him, and he became as stone. That's that Medusa flow, if you're Greek or if we're talking Crete, right? But it was 10 days after that Hawa smote Nabal that he died. So Nabal, right, died twice. Did you catch that? But remember, Abel was killed into two houses, these bays and L's, right? Nabal sounds like an Abel. Sounds like a ball.
It heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord, that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil. For the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail, to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us unto thee, to take thee to him to wife. And she arose, and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord.
Uh-oh. Don't you get that story in your New Test about washing feet? Isn't there a Mary that washes feet? Where did that come from? Right? Where does that come from? But again, you've gotten this story before. Not the first time you heard this story. You know, this is very similar in context. This is very similar to the story of the Hittite, right? When he came down to David and Bathsheba, a very similar story, similar but different. Let's finish this up.
Rose, and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messengers of David, and became his wife.
Right, that's that Miriam
And
flow,
also
right?
took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wives. But Saul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Baltai, the son of Laish, which was of Galim.
All right. Now that we got the background story, right? Because we're only talking about Abigail, right? Talking about Abigail. All right. Which one was it? So let's dig on it. Abigail. All right. A little sloppy here. Let's straighten that up a little bit. There we go. Sorry about that. Schlocky. Abigail was an Israelite woman in the Hebrew Bible named Nabal, married to Nabal. Right? You got the story. She became married to the future King David after Nabal's death. 1 Samuel 25, which we just dug on. And Abigail was David's second wife after Saul and Ahinoam daughter Michal, whom Saul later married to Palti, son of Laish, when David went into hiding. She became mother of one of David's sons, who is listed in the book of Chronicles under the name Daniel. In the Masoretic text of the book of Samuel as Kiliab, and in the Septuagint text of 2 Samuel 3:3 as Daluia, if I'm saying it correctly. Her name is spelled Abigail in 2 Samuel 17:25 in the American Standard Version. Again, we're talking about a seed of a woman. It makes more sense how or why Daniel is the way he is when he's taken into captivity. Derived from the Hebrew father, right? Hebrew root, got that, rejoice. The name Abigail has a variety of possible meanings, including my father's joy and source of my joy. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because remember when we were talking about Kiliab is the perfection of the Father. All right? That was, I think it was this one, perfection of the Father. And remember that Kiliab and Daniel equates to be one and the same, right? equates to be one and the same. But we're talking about Abigail. Apples don't fall far from a tree. And you can see why and how, if, in a sense, David is his father and Abigail is his mother. Now you understand how and why David was operating the way that he was operating. Daniel, rather. Especially when it comes down to him being so just. Now this is where it breaks down the story, right? That we just went over. Now check this out. See here. Abigail attempts to placate David or to stop him. Right, we got on that. Okay, the last now. John Levinson calls this an undeniable adumberation of Nathan's prophecy in 2 Samuel chapter 7. Alice Bach notes that Abigail pronounces a crucial prophecy, and the Talmud regards her as one of the Tanakh's 7 female prophets. Levinson, however, suggests that she senses the drift of history from the intelligence rather than from special revelation. And that's very key and important. Unlike Solomon, who is the seed of the woman we know as wisdom, Daniel is the seed of a woman of a different type. Right? After Abigail revealed, now with that being said, if you notice David being his father and in that story, it really is a prototype of how Daniel spends his entire life under Nebuchadnezzar. It's how he operates, right? Now, after Abigail reveals to Nabal what she has done, God struck Nabal and died, after which David married her. Abigail is described as intelligent and beautiful. The Talmud amplifies this idea, mentioning her as being one of 4 women of surpassing beauty in the world. The other 3 being Rahab, Sarah, and Esther. But we really don't talk about Abigail, do we? Not only is she one of the 7 prophets, but she's also one of the 4 women of surpassing beauty. And there's more. Being married to the wealthy Nabal, she is also a woman of high social economic status. Whether David married her because he was attracted to her or as an astute political move, both is unclear. And I'll postulate both are wrong. Because if you read Esther, it's about covering. If you understand the sensibilities of the time, it was about covering. The reason why we're talking about a maiden, a holy maiden, and maiden is a different word or a variant word in which we get Mary. Just like it branches back to Miriam. Something about a lady. And she's set apart. She's different from just a woman. She's precious. You see, when you begin to put everything together and begin to understand in the Proverbs 31 is a conversation between a father to his son. This is why we're talking about the difference between a subject and an object. Women are the subject in that story. But the object was for the son to understand where the father was coming from. David was describing his wives, particular wives. Abigail and David's second wife, Ahinoam, the Jezreelite, accompanied David and his war band as they seek refuge in Philistine territory. While David and his men are encamped near Jezreel, the women are captured by the Amalekites, right, who raided the town of Ziklag and carried off the women and children. David led pursuit, and they were subsequently rescued. Both wives then settled with David in Hebron, where Abigail gives birth to David's second son, Kiliab, also called Daniel. Abigail is also listed as one of the 7 Jewish women prophets, the other 6 being who? Miriam, Deborah, Hannah. We're only talking about Lady Hannah, which we need to dig more on because, we're only talking about an Andrew. And an Andrew is a male variation of the word and name Abigail. We're talking about Sarah and the Sarah's sons, right? Huldah, right? And then we're talking about Esther. In terms of moral character, Abraham Kuyper argues that Abigail's conduct indicates a most appealing character and unwavering faith, but Alice Box regards her as subversive. And she's right, because she's subtle. She represents an Eve. She represents the most subtle beast in the field. Adele Berlin contrasts the story of Abigail with that of Bathsheba. In one, the wife prevents David from murdering her foolish and greedy husband. In the second, David orders the murder of a good man because he desires his wife. And we dug on that and we got the correction on that story. And again, it wasn't that he was someone who was trying to choose up. When he was properly trying to serve, he was properly trying to serve, but he was still out of order. And I think that's something that's very key that we need to focus on as we move forward in the 5th wave. Sometimes the drop can be right, but the timing can be off, and the enemy can use that to its advantage. Much like, as we've been surfing the wave, man, the wave has been collapsing. Time has been collapsing to where it's almost like reading a book. It's almost like, that the end of that Loki TV series, right? To him, all of time is like reading a comic book. Not to say that life didn't happen and nothing's going on. Those people and those characters aren't actually alive and making choices. But there's certain things that just are. But you have to perceive it the right way. Now, Livingston and Haviland suggest Abigail may, in fact, also be the same person as Abigail, mother of Amasa, right? Richard Davidson, however, points out on the basis of the final form of the Old Testament canon, references to Abigail in biblical accounts indicate 2 different individuals. But you can say that's also true about Jacob and Israel. You can also say that about Jacob and Israel. But who are we talking about? Her name is righteous. Her name is righteous. I beg you that the name of the game is righteous. We are to be righteous. The way the story goes is for us to be righteous. There's nothing wrong with wisdom. And we got a lot of drop with wisdom. But everything points back to righteousness. And I think it's kind of funny that this entire time, there's nothing wrong with seeking wisdom, and this is not a knock about seeking wisdom. But maybe in Hosea 3, seeking David via the lens of wisdom, we're seeking the wrong David. Much hive to the family. Much hive to the tribe. I love y'all. Peace.